We're here, and we're making movies.
I'm in North Dakota.
You're making movies?
Yeah, North Dakota?
Making movies.
In North Dakota?
Are you familiar with North Dakota?
You know those two fellas you put me in touch with up there in Fargo?
Fargo, North Dakota.
Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Bismarck, North Dakota.
Dickinson.
Monarch.
Jamestown.
Williston. Standing Rock.
North Dakota!
I've been making movies myself lately.
In North Dakota.
Making movies is the most wonderful thing in the world. And North Dakota. Wow.
I come from North Dakota, and bigger, better country you can't find.
Welcome to a special episode of the Film North Dakota Podcast. I'm Matt Fern, Executive Director of Film North Dakota. Today, there is no guest. Instead, we'll take a look at the results of our brand new 2026 North Dakota Film and Media Industry Report. Film North Dakota is a new organization, and our mission is to connect and strengthen North Dakota's film and media industry. One of our first priorities was to take a statewide look at the film and media production workforce. To do that, on May 9th, Film North Dakota launched a statewide industry survey. We received 120 submissions, and after identifying and removing 4 duplicate submissions, we ended up with 116 unique respondents. To reach as much of the industry as possible, we promoted the survey statewide through digital outreach and direct industry contacts. And before we get into the numbers, I just want to be clear that this isn't a census of every filmmaker or media professional in North Dakota. Participation was voluntary, and we aren't claiming that these 116 people statistically represent every person working in the industry. What this gives us is something we really haven't had before, a statewide snapshot of North Dakota's film and media production workforce. Now, diving into the report, one of the first things that stood out was experience. 69% of respondents have been working in film and media for at least 5 years, and 43% have more than 10 years of experience. That's important because we're not building this industry from scratch. There are already people here with years of experience and long-term careers. At the same time, 61% of respondents were under 40. So this is a great combination of a relatively young workforce with substantial professional experience and potentially decades of their careers still ahead of them. They also are educated and employed. 65% have at least a bachelor's degree, and 88% are currently employed either full or part-time. 75% said more than half of their income comes from film, television, or media production work. For many of the respondents, this is how they make a living in North Dakota. Another statistic I think is important is the kind of work these professionals are doing. When people hear Film North Dakota, they naturally think about movies or feature-length films. But film was actually the third most common reported type of work in the survey. Commercial and advertising production was number 1, followed by social media production, and then film. 70% of respondents work in commercial or advertising production, and 68% work in social media production. The average respondent also works across 3.7 different types of media production. I think that shows just how versatile this workforce is. The same camera operator who works on a feature film set may shoot a local commercial the next week, and the same editor may cut social media content for a North Dakota business. And that's why I think this conversation is bigger than movies. An experienced media production workforce doesn't just make feature films. They help North Dakota businesses, organizations, and communities create advertising and tell their stories. So if people are here and they're working, what's holding the industry back? We asked respondents to identify the biggest barriers to making a living in film, television, and media production in North Dakota. The number 1 answer was lack of consistent work. This was followed by a small client base, limited state funding and tax incentives, out-of-state competition, and a small investor base. Lack of skilled crew was much further down the list, along with equipment and training. And that doesn't mean we don't need more training, equipment, or people. We obviously want to continue developing all of those things in North Dakota, but the biggest issue is opportunity. Respondents need enough consistent work to make staying in North Dakota a viable option. That leads into what I think is one of the most concerning findings in the report. Do you feel you can sustain a long-term film, television, or media career in North Dakota? Only 47% said yes, 32% were unsure, and about 22% said no. So despite having an experienced and largely employed workforce, fewer than half are confident they can sustain that long-term career here in North Dakota. Respondents' concern about the future reinforces this. 78% said they were at least somewhat concerned about the future of North Dakota's film and media industry. We also asked respondents whether they had to leave North Dakota for film, television, or media work opportunities. 54% said yes. That's more than half of the respondents. To be clear, I'm not saying everybody who travels for production is permanently leaving North Dakota. Travel is definitely part of this business. But when opportunities aren't available here in North Dakota, people leave, and they go where the opportunities are. Sometimes that means taking a project outside the state, and for some, it can mean building their career somewhere else entirely. So why should someone who doesn't work in film even care about this? I think it's because of what I said earlier. These are the same professionals who are producing advertising, social media, video, podcasts, and other content for North Dakota businesses and organizations. When we lose those professionals, we're losing more than filmmakers. We're losing experienced workers, production spending, and opportunities for the businesses and freelancers that support that work. We also asked respondents, what is the one resource or investment that would make the biggest difference to the film, TV, and media industry in North Dakota? The leading themes were funding and investment, followed by more work, productions, and clients. Again, I think that reinforces the same basic story. The people are here, they want to work, they want more opportunities to do that work right here in North Dakota. The report also looks at a couple of neighboring states, not because Montana or Minnesota necessarily provide the perfect blueprint for North Dakota, but because they show that states are taking different approaches to developing this industry. Montana operates the Big Sky Film Grant Program. In 2026 alone, Montana awarded $970,000 across 22 film projects to 22 different recipients. The Montana Department of Commerce estimated those productions would generate approximately $13.2 million in spending within Montana. Since 2021, Montana has projected more than $131 million in production spending associated with the Big Sky Film Grants. North Dakota has taken a different approach. Since 2021, the North Dakota Department of Commerce has awarded $700,000 through its motion picture production and recruitment grants to 3 different projects, all produced by the same recipient. Minnesota offers another model. Rather than primarily using grants, Minnesota offers a 25% film production tax credit for qualifying productions that spend at least $1 million in the state. Since 2022, 23 projects were approved for more than $11.6 million in credits, with completed projects generating more than $25 million in production spending. Again, I'm not suggesting North Dakota simply copy either of these states. I'm pointing out that other states right next to us are actively competing for this workforce and economic activity. There's one more statistic I'd like to touch on. We asked respondents whether they trust the state of North Dakota to administer state-funded film and media programs fairly and transparently. Only 15% said yes, 37% said no, and 48% were unsure. To put it another way, 85% either said no or were unsure. That's very significant. So whatever comes next needs to do a much better job of earning the industry's trust. If North Dakota creates future grant programs, tax incentives, or workforce programs, they need transparency and accountability, just like any other state program. Finally, we asked respondents what they most want from Film North Dakota. The number one answer, by a wide margin, was networking. Advocacy and funding access were next, followed by a job board, promotion, and training. I think that's a very helpful direction for us. We can help make the workforce more visible, connect professionals with opportunities, advocate for policies that support industry growth, and perhaps most importantly, we could make sure that the people doing this work have a voice in what comes next. So that is the North Dakota Film and Media Industry Report 2026. I think the challenge isn't that nobody's here. The challenge is creating enough consistent opportunity for them to stay here. I want to thank all 116 people who participated in the survey and everyone who helped us distribute it. I also want to thank Film North Dakota's members, board volunteers, and industry sponsors. If you want to see the complete report, it's available at filmnorthdakota.org. It includes all of these findings, additional data, respondent comments, and methodology. Take a look at it, share it, and let's work together to create more opportunities for film and media professionals right here in North Dakota. I'm Matt Fern, Executive Director of Film North Dakota. Thanks for listening to this special episode of our podcast, and keep making movies in North Dakota.
Well, I come from North Dakota, where the sun shines brighter and the country's wider than the sky. I come from